479 BC, Athens. A man named Lycidas stands in the council hall. He suggests a truce with the Persians. He never finishes his sentence. The room explodes. They do not debate him. They stone him to death right there on the floor. Outside, the women of Athens hunt down his wife and children. They butcher them in the street. This wasn't a riot. This was survival. The Greeks were done with diplomacy. Athens was a smoking ruin. The 300 Spartans were dead. The only language left was violence. This brutal mindset sets the stage for the final showdown. The Battle of Plataea, the story of how the Greeks stopped being victims and became butchers. King Xerxes had fled, but he left behind a nightmare. General Mardonius. Mardonius was not a tourist. He was a shark. He camped in the plains with 300,000 of the empire's deadliest killers. He burned Athens a second time just to send a message. I am still here. The Athenians sent a final threat to Sparta. March now, or we join Persia. That was the wake-up call. And when Sparta moves, the earth shakes. In a single night, the high command did something unprecedented. They emptied the city. 5,000 elite Spartan citizens suited up. But history often leaves out the dark detail. They brought the slaves. For every single Spartan night, 7 Helot slaves were forced to march. That is 35,000 conscripted servants armed for war. When the sun rose, a column of 45,000 men had vanished from the city, marching north to hunt the Persians. General Mardonius was waiting. The Persian army was a professional killing machine. He kept the Immortals. He kept the Saka horse archers, men who could shoot a coin out of the air at full gallop. He chose the flat plains of Plataea. He knew the Greek phalanx was slow. On flat ground, his cavalry would slaughter them. The Greeks arrived but hugged the mountain slopes. They refused to enter the killing field. It became a staring contest. Impatient, Mardonius sent his cavalry commander, Mecistius, to break them. Mecistius was a giant. He rode a horse with a gold bridle and wore armor made of gold scales. He mocked the Spartans. He called them women, but he made a mistake. An arrow struck his horse. The giant fell. The Greeks swarmed him, hacking at his body, but they couldn't kill him. His gold armor was impenetrable. Finally, a soldier jammed a spear through his eye. The Greeks cheered. They paraded his body on a cart. They thought they were winning. They were wrong. Mardonius was just getting started. He realized he couldn't beat the Spartans in a fair fight, so he decided to strangle them. He poisoned the Gargaphia spring, the only source of water for 100,000 Greeks. Suddenly, the army wasn't fighting. It was dying of thirst. Panic spread. The commanders ordered a desperate night retreat. But as the sun went down, the plan collapsed. It turned into a comedy of errors that nearly destroyed Western civilization. The Athenians got lost in the dark. Half the army ran too far, and the Spartans got stuck in an argument. A stubborn Spartan captain named Amompharetus refused to move. He picked up a massive boulder with both hands and slammed it at his general's feet. With this pebble, he shouted, "I cast my vote not to flee from the strangers." While they were arguing, the sun came up. Mardonius stepped out of his tent. He saw them. The Greek army was broken, scattered, and exposed. He smiled. He didn't see an army. He saw prey. Get them. The Persian cavalry surged forward. The Immortals charged. It wasn't a battle. It was a stampede. General Pausanias, the Spartan commander, stood alone on the ridge. 10,000 Spartans and their slaves against the entire Persian Empire. The arrows began to fall like black rain. Thud, thud, thud. Men were dropping. But Pausanias did something insane. He ordered his men to halt, to drop to one knee and wait. The religious omens were bad. He needed to sacrifice a goat to the gods. Imagine the discipline. You are crouching behind a shield. You hear the screams of the slaves dying next to you. You see the enemy closing in, and your commander is staring at a goat's liver. For an hour, the Spartans died passively. A soldier named Callicrates was struck in the side. As he lay dying, he said, "I do not mind dying for Greece. I mind that I die without striking a blow." Finally, the omens changed. Pausanias stood up. He raised his spear. The statues came to life. The Spartans didn't just walk. They exploded. The pent-up rage of thousands of men unleashed in a single second. They crashed into the Persian line like a freight train. The Persian wicker shield shattered instantly. Now, the technology gap became fatal. The Persians fought bravely, grabbing Spartan spears with their bare hands. But they were wearing linen tunics. The Spartans were wearing bronze. Once the spears broke, the Spartans drew their short swords, designed for close quarters butchery. Stab the face, bash with the shield, step over the corpse. They carved a path of blood straight toward Mardonius. They wanted the head of the man who burned Athens. Mardonius fought from his white horse, surrounded by 1,000 elite guards. But bravery cannot defeat physics. A Spartan named Eremnestos picked up a rock and crushed the Persian general's skull. The moment Mardonius hit the dirt, the Persian army died with him. They broke. They ran back to their wooden fort, trapping themselves inside. And this is where the story gets dark. The Greeks breached the walls. What followed wasn't a battle. It was an extermination. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't accept surrender. They killed everything that moved. The ground inside the fort became a sludge of mud and blood. Of the 260,000 Persians, history claims only 3,000 survived. An entire generation wiped off the face of the earth in a single afternoon. When the dust settled, Pausanias walked into Mardonius's tent. He saw the gold, the silk, the luxury. He laughed. He ordered his cooks to prepare a black Spartan broth and placed it next to the Persian feast. "Look at this fool," he said. "He had all this luxury, yet he came here to rob us of our poverty." It became a famous story, but it was also a warning, because as Pausanias stared at that gold, something inside him broke. The man who saved Western civilization became addicted to the luxury he mocked. Years later, he would turn traitor, and his own people, the Spartans, would starve him to death inside a temple. His own mother placed the first stone to seal his tomb. History prefers the clean story of the 300 Spartans, but Plataea is the reality. It is messy. It is brutal. The hero becomes the villain. But it was here, on these blood-soaked plains, that 10,000 Spartans did the impossible. They looked the apocalypse in the eye, and they didn't blink. They didn't just avenge the 300. They buried the Persian Empire in the dirt.